This is the new McLaren 765LT Spider, and it's got it all. This is the high-performance, limited production, track-focused version of the McLaren 720S, the 765LT, and now it's got a convertible roof. And today I'm going to review it and show you everything. Before I get started, be sure to check out Cars and Bids, which is my enthusiast car auction website for cool cars from the modern era with free listings. You can list your cool car for free and auction it on Cars and Bids. And we've had some fantastic sales recently, including this wonderful Shelby GT350R sold for almost $68,000. This fantastic 992 Porsche 911, which is wonderfully optioned, brought almost $169,000, and this Hummer EV sold for just under $230,000. If you're looking to buy or sell a cool enthusiast car from the modern era, the 1980s and up, Cars and Bids is the place to do it, with daily auctions and great selection at carsandbids.com. So let's talk 765LT Spider. This is based on the McLaren 720S, which came out back in 2017. Now, a few years later, a high-performance 765LT model came out with limited production, high performance, and a lot of fantastic upgrades. Well, now there's the 765LT Spider, which has all of those things plus a convertible top. And today, I'm going to show you everything. First, I'll take you on a thorough tour of the 765LT Spider and show you all of its quirks and features. Then I'll get it out on the road and drive it, and then I'll give it a Doug's score. All right, I'm going to start the quirks and features, the 765LT, with getting in, and that means starting with the key, which on the back side says 765LT and has carbon fiber. Even the key is carbon fiber, which gives you a little preview of what's to come. Now you flip it over, and I love that there's little dots lining up exactly with the wheels in the little trunk opener diagram. They're there so you know exactly where to press to open the trunk if you're not looking at the key fob, but I love that little detail on McLaren keys. But anyway, next up, once you've used the key to unlock the car, getting in is a little bit confusing because there's no immediately obvious door handle. That's because it's hidden inside this air intake. You look in here and you can see this plastic panel is the door handle. If you pull on that, then it unlatches the door and you can pull it open, although not immediately. In this car, when you pull on the door handle, you have to wait about a half second for the window to go down, as you can see. When that's happening, you can't open the door at all. It locks you out. Once the window's down enough, then you can open up the door the rest of the way. I guess they do that so the window forms a seal when the door closes, and it's kind of interesting to see. Now, obviously in this car, the doors open upwards like you'd expect from a true supercar to maximize the drama whenever you pull up somewhere. But anyway, next we climb inside the 765LT Spider. I want to talk about one of its most important items, its spiderness, which of course is the convertible top, which has a few interesting tricks up its sleeve. For one thing, it goes down incredibly fast. This is the button right here. You push it, the top goes down in just 11 seconds. As you can see, incredibly quick to drop the convertible top in this car. And of course, it's the same deal when the top goes up. You pull up on this little switch in the center, and then the top goes up in the same 11 seconds. Has to be one of the very fastest moving tops in the entire car industry, which makes sense. This is one of the fastest cars, and it also has one of the fastest convertible top operations. But there's a lot more cool stuff to talk about with this convertible top. Check this out. There's a window in the convertible top, and you can change just how much sunlight comes through the window with the push of this button. Press it, and now it's bright and sunny. Press it again, and now instantly it's dark, and you can just keep pressing that to your heart's content, depending on whether you want to let in sunlight or not, which is an incredibly cool feature. And how about this? The rear window behind the seats can go down with the push of a button. This button here, push it, and it drops just like any other power window window, which is really cool because then it allows airflow through the cabin without putting down the roof. It's a really sunny day, you don't necessarily want to be beat on by the sun. Well, drop your windows and drop that back window, and you still get nice circulating air without putting down the top, which is a very cool feature. And one other cool trick of the roof is that when the roof's in place, you can use the compartment where it's supposed to go down for storage. There's a little button on the side of the door marked tonneau, and you can press the up arrow, raise the tonneau cover, and you can see there's a little bit of storage in there, I guess, if you wanted to put stuff in your roof compartment. Now, the drawback is obviously if you have anything in there, you can't drop the roof, but it does add a little extra storage for a long journey if you want it. And worth noting, the tonneau area is also where you'll find the caps you can unscrew to add fluids to the engine, oil, coolant, that sort of thing. It all goes in through there, and that's how you access it. But anyway, next up, beyond the spiderness of this car, I also want to talk about its other most important component, and that would be the 765LT-ness. In other words, the added performance compared to the McLaren 720S. Now, both this car and the 720S share an engine. In fact, basically all McLaren models have the same engine, which is a 4-liter twin turbocharged V8. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you because it's under a fixed cover back here, but it does exist and it is a monster. In the 720S, it makes 710 horsepower. In this car, it makes 755. So this car has a power boost compared to the 720S. And torque is improved as well. In the 720S, about 560 pound-feet of torque. In this car, about 590. And this car manages to keep its weight down also. Being the high-performance version, it's lighter than the 720S Spider by about 175 pounds. And the 765LT Spider is only about 110 pounds heavier than the Coupe, which is a pretty impressive number. Not that much added weight to have the benefit of a convertible roof. Now, the overall result of all this, more power, similar and decreased weight, is of course incredible acceleration. McLaren says 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds, which is of course tremendously fast. But McLaren goes much further in making the 765LT than just adding power and losing a little weight. There are a lot of other changes, including to the appearance of this car. One major difference is this front splitter, carbon fiber, a lot lower than what you get in the 720S for better aerodynamics, and of course it also looks cooler. Same deal in back. You have a massive rear diffuser, again for better airflow, and that helps separate this car from the 720S. And there's a lot more, of course, on the outside that help give this car a more aggressive look than the 720S. Another, these side skirts in carbon fiber give it sort of a lower feel and presumably improve aero as well. And beyond those obvious touches, there are also some smaller ones that improve the look and aero, like this carbon fiber panel in back, which helps channel airflow in the rear, and these little vents over the front wheel arches. You can see them here. Porsche also has this on the GT3 RS, and they say that it helps relieve pressure in the wheel well when you're driving. I'm not sure if that's the same purpose here, but this car has them, and the 720S doesn't, for more aggressive look here. And next up, there are still more upgrades over the standard 720S to create the 765LT. A big one is the exhaust. This car uses a full titanium exhaust in order to save weight, which is pretty impressive. And it all comes out right here. These 4 exhaust pipes mounted basically in the middle of the rear of the car, rather than hiding them off to the side. They're right here and they sound amazing. Take a listen. But there's still more to cover in terms of upgrades for this car. Suspension has been improved compared to the 720S, dialed for better track performance, and the track is wider. Literally, the car is a little bit wider than a 720S, also for improved handling and cornering capabilities. And how about this one? An upgrade unique to the 765LT Spider over the Coupe, the rear spoiler positioning. This is an active rear spoiler, so it changes directions based on what mode you're in, how fast you're going, that sort of thing. But here, there are even different positions based on whether you have the roof up or down, because you figure that changes the aerodynamic profile of the car, so the spoiler will adjust also depending on whether you're top down or up. That's pretty cool. But the overall point between the spoiler and the stuff I showed you before, the splitters, the diffusers, that sort of stuff, is this car has about 25% more downforce than the 720S, which is already an amazing supercar with amazing track capabilities in its own right. 25% 25% more downforce here. Now, one thing you don't see back here, if you look around the rear of this car, is brake lights. You can see they've prioritized the exhaust and the heat dissipation. There's all sorts of holes to let hot air out of the engine bay, but brake lights are nowhere to be found. But this car has them. They're just very thin. As you can see here, they do light up, and of course there's turn signals also, just kind of thin, small, and off to the side, so other more important stuff can take center stage. But next we move inside, where there are still more upgrades to the 765LT, starting with the seats. This is the performance model, so it has performance seats. You can see carbon fiber bucket seats like you get in a GT3 RS or other high performance models. It certainly goes along with the ethos of this car, although these seats are not particularly comfortable. Not much padding, a lot of bolstering, very track focused, just like the 765LT. Now, the other benefit you get in here is a lot of carbon fiber, and I mean a lot of carbon fiber. The center tunnel, you can see, is pretty much entirely in carbon fiber. Same deal with the center control stack around the screen. It's all carbon fiber in here. The steering wheel base is carbon fiber. There's just a lot of carbon in here, again, to accentuate the fact that this is the high performance, lightest weight version of this car. Carbon everywhere. And as you might expect, another major benefit of this car is exclusivity. Unlike the 720S, which is sort of a production car, they just make as many as they can sell, this, they're only going to limit production to 765 units for the entire world. Now, that was also true of the 765LT Coupe. They made 765 of those, and now they're making 765 of these. And about a third of these will come to the United States, so roughly 250 of the 765 unit production run. Now, 765LT Coupe is all out of production, and McLaren says completely sold. Those were made for the 2021 model year, whereas the Spider version is made for the 22 model year, so that's a difference between those two cars. It's 765 of each, and you can tell which number yours is. There's a little plaque on the door sill right here that is individually numbered, letting each driver know precisely which special car they have. But even if McLaren wasn't limiting these cars to a certain number of units, I suspect production would be pretty limited anyway because of the cost. This vehicle starts around $383,000, which is already incredibly expensive. But then you add options, and in this particular car, you add a lot of options. This one has a sticker price of $532,680. It has $150,000 in options, and there's some crazy stuff. Like, for instance, that key I showed you earlier in carbon fiber, yeah, that's $1,200 extra. This cool roof, you can press the button and change the sunlight, that's over $9,000 extra. Although actually that kind of seems like a deal compared to the rest of this stuff. And indeed, most of the rest of this stuff is carbon fiber. I showed you a few carbon fiber exterior components, but there's a lot more than just that. Basically, every panel is carbon fiber. Mirror caps and vents and scoops and anything they could make carbon fiber on the outside, they did, and it all adds up. I totaled the cost of all the carbon fiber options outside and inside this car, and it comes to around $114,000 just in options carbon fiber. I paid just a little bit more than that for my last two cars combined. And it's just the carbon fiber options in this car. So as you can imagine, you can really go crazy equipping it well beyond that $383,000 sticker price. But anyway, on to the other quirks and features in this interior. There are quite a few, and the coolest is undoubtedly the gauge cluster. You can see right here, it is a full screen providing some good information, your speed, various other items, which is obviously useful as you're driving along. But let's say you're on the racetrack and you want fewer distractions, just press this button and the screen folds down, and it actually morphs into a much smaller screen which had been sitting there unused. This version of the screen only provides you with the essentials, the stuff you absolutely need to see, so it's not as distracting as the main screen. The theory is you'll use that on the racetrack, and in fact, if you go into track mode, it happens automatically. These little dials in the center adjust the drive mode for your powertrain, so your engine and transmission, and also your handling, basically your suspension. And if you twist either one over to T for track, you can see the gauge cluster automatically automatically folds down and goes into this sort of limited display, since they figure you're on the racetrack and you don't need to see all that stuff and distract you from high performance driving. Now, the other screen in this interior is this one in the center. It's displayed vertically like a smartphone as opposed to horizontally like most other car infotainment systems, and frankly, this screen is fairly easy and fairly simple. Not particularly advanced, doesn't have a lot of cool cutting edge features, but it has what you need and it works relatively easily. You tap it, it does what you want, it's intuitive, it's responsive, and it works well. One cool thing about this screen, it comes with a top-down camera system for this car. There's a backup camera, of course, which is mandated by the government, but you also have this top-down, which is really nice to have in a supercar. They don't always have the best visibility, but most supercars don't have this feature. Well, McLaren's do, and it really makes low-speed driving very easy. Now, as for practicality in this car, well, there's not really all that much. You don't have any storage in the door panel, which makes sense because the doors go up and anything you put in a storage compartment will just fly out of it. You also don't have a glove box in this car. In fact, there's no closable storage at all. You do have this net between the seats where you can stick some stuff, and also this open compartment in the center console, but nothing where you can put something and put a lid over it. You just don't have it. Amazingly, you do have two cup holders in this interior, one directly between the seats, and then there's one like behind the center infotainment screen. So two cup holders, but basically no real storage for anything other than drinks. But even though you don't have a lot of storage on the inside of this car, you do have a surprisingly large trunk. You can see it here, cargo storage area, surprisingly big for any supercar, let alone a high-performance, lightweight version supercar. But this has it, you can store bags in here. Now, in this cargo area, you will also see this little power plug so that you can plug in your 765LT and charge it when you're not using it, which makes sense because that's how most of these are going to spend most of their time, sitting in large car storage facilities, plugged into a battery tender, not adding many miles, as the owners hope their values will increase. And so those are the quirks and features of the McLaren 765LT Spider. Now it's time to get it out on the road and see how it drives. All right, driving the 765LT Spider. Now I reviewed the regular 765LT about a year and a half ago, and that car was insane, and this car I suspect will be the same. Oh, that power. Oh my God, these cars are so unbelievably fast. So I've complained in a few videos that I think McLaren just makes too many special cars and it kind of dilutes the specialness of them over time. And I still to an extent feel that way, but you can't really argue with this one. You have the 720S, which is like their flagship performance car, and then there's a performance version of that. All the other brands do this too, and this isn't like excessive. This car just kind of fits into a lineup and it makes sense. And it's cool. This is a seriously engaging and enjoyable car to drive, and my God, is it fast. Oh my God, it's just so fast. So McLaren says 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds. I am not one to question that sort of claim, but it feels faster than that. I've driven Plaid, that's 0 to 60 in 1.9. This is not that far off. This is fast. Now, it's not just fast, obviously tremendously exceptional handling. This car is incredibly, incredibly immediate. It's actually interesting, I just had this back-to-back with the GT4 RS, the new Cayman GT4 RS, which is also a very special car. And that came, and then I drove that, and now I'm driving this. And as wonderful as the Cayman GT4 RS is, you can tell the difference between a true supercar and a car like that when you get into a true supercar. This vehicle is just so much more on the level of like focus and amazement and just unending power, unending noise, much more daring and incredible styling, but it's especially handling where I think it really makes a difference. You see, when you're going hard into corners, this car is so much more immediate and so much more like planted and firm and stable and capable. Cayman is an amazing car, but it's just, I wouldn't want to call it twitchy, it's just This car is so much more settled and like ready for absolutely at the limit driving. That is what this is built for. Now the drawback is the ride quality in this is unbelievably harsh, and I was complaining about the ride quality in the GT4 RS. This makes that feel like a Lincoln. This is so harsh. It's just unbelievable. Even driving over just normal highway pavement surfaces. I'm not going over the lane lines. I'm not going over bumps. Just the regular like highway is sending vibrations through the steering wheel. It's just such a harsh riding car. But McLaren figures, hey, if you're buying this, if you're getting this one, you're passing up on a lot of comfortable cars to get here. You could get a 911, a Mercedes SL, even a regular 720S. If you're buying this, you want the best of the best, and this is that. And I gotta say, from a performance standpoint, from a drivability standpoint, this is just one of the coolest damn cars in existence. It's just amazingly fun and fast. And yes, McLaren is a little played out. They've got a lot of different cars. They're trying to convince us that a lot of different things are special. But when you get behind the wheel and actually go and enjoy the driving experience, this car is next level. And that's especially crazy because I already feel that way about the 720S. That car has amazing acceleration. That car has fantastic handling. This is a more focused, more just precise, monstrous car than that one, and it's just amazing. And I love these LT cars. They really are incredibly, incredibly special, and this car is incredibly, incredibly fast. And it's just brutal. It's totally brutal in every sense of the term. Speed, acceleration, cornering, and ride quality, seat comfort, that sort of thing. You're buying this for the absolute limit, and that's what it gives you. And so that's the McLaren 765LT Spider. This car is truly impressive with amazing performance, fantastic looks, incredible power, that all-important limited production, and now a convertible top. This is daring, dramatic, a true supercar. And now it's time to give the 765LT a Doug's score. And the Doug score is here, 71 out of 100, which places the 765LT Spider in great company among some of the other top exotic sports cars, the Ferrari F8 and 488 Pista, the Lamborghini Huracan Evo, and more. The 765LT Spider is a truly fantastic car with dramatic styling, amazing performance, and rarity that should help it remain more desirable than a typical McLaren. And the convertible top adds even more fun.